Our exclusive conversation with former President Barack Obama. Since leaving office, the 44th president has used his influence and resources to help some of those who need it most. The Obama's Foundation My Brother's Keeper Alliance was designed to fill opportunity gaps for young men of color. The group recently announced it will focus on 4 model communities that have shown that success in those areas. They are Newark, New Jersey, Omaha, Nebraska, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Yonkers, New York. We spent a few days with Obama in Chicago, where we saw firsthand the impact he and his foundation are having on communities.
It's never safe, no matter where you go. You got hustles popping 4-5s instead of 6-4s.
In the basement of this Baptist church on Chicago's South Side, they're working on a lot more than music.
All you hear is pop, 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 gunshot, gunshot. Who was that? That was Ricky.
Violence may inspire some of their lyrics, but this safe space is about personal connections, feeling seen and heard. Guitars Over Guns is a grassroots program that gives teens a chance to work on their lyrics, beats, and production skills.
Are you trying to do something upbeat? Can we do some storytelling? We're going to talk about what's going on in the world.
And mentors to help remind them of their potential.
Story of a young man and to make it out, gave his whole life to the game, even when he had his doubts.
It's one of many programs the Obama Foundation and its My Brother's Keeper initiative help support.
And that's what My Brother's Keeper is all about, helping more of our young people stay on track, providing the support they need to think more broadly about their future.
Nearly a decade later, some of that progress was shared on this stage in downtown Chicago.
Mr. Mayor, how you doing? What's going on, man?
Where the former president of the United States gathered community leaders from around the country, specifically Newark, Omaha, Tulsa, and Yonkers, New York, highlighting what is working in education and violence prevention in those places. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka.
We were able to experience 35% reduction last year just in shooting victims alone, which is historic for us. We're going to target you with resources, with job opportunities, with educational opportunities.
With love.
Alternative. That's right, with love, not just handcuffs. Right.
200 cities with varying degrees of success are making the effort to identify the barriers and knock those barriers away for so many of our young boys and young men of color so that they can succeed. Making sure they're prepared for school, making sure that there's a job waiting for them if they do the right thing, and then dealing with violence in their communities. The vast majority of these young people will succeed, and that will be good for all of us.
Gun violence is the #1 cause of death for children in this country. What is the radical solution? And do you believe there is a larger issue at hand that causes fractures among us in this country?
We are unique among advanced, developed nations in tolerating, on a routine basis, gun violence in the form of shootings, mass shootings, suicides. In Australia, you had one mass shooting 50 years ago, and they said, oh, we're not doing that anymore. That is normally how you would expect a society to respond when your children are at risk.
Why is it so hard for us to do that?
Look, I think somehow, and there are a lot of historical reasons for this, gun ownership in this country became an ideological issue and a partisan issue in ways that it shouldn't be. It has become sort of a proxy for arguments about our culture wars. Instead of thinking about it in a very pragmatic way, we end up really arguing about identity and emotion and all kinds of stuff that does not have to do with keeping our children safe. Even in the absence of action at the federal level, you are still seeing communities able to reduce violence by dealing with not just access to guns, but just as importantly, making sure that the young people in these communities feel as if they've got somebody who's paying attention to them. We don't have room for cynicism, and we can't give up.
Hey, what's happening, people?
Oh, wow.
There was no cynicism in this room when the former president dropped by.
Call me natural cause I'm black, this is so rap. Lyrics dripping off the lips like honey slap. These brothers stick to me like a bad rap.
Truthfully, I'm contemplating making OnlyFans. My OnlyFans will probably look at me like, are you crazy, man? But I'm just trying to make some bands and maybe help my mama see Jamaica, man. Talk to Papa T like, see you later, man.
Maybe a couple of you just tell me a little bit about how you came to know about the program, why it's been important to you, the kinds of things that you've been doing. Go ahead.
After coming from Lake Geneva, I think it was, he ended up inviting me to the studio.
Okay.
And when I came in, it was a day that I didn't have school, and he thought that I was suspended from school, so he wouldn't let me record music until he got the approval. Until he got the approval. He was like, you can sit over here and do your work. You know, you can chill in the studio all day, but you gotta definitely, I gotta get an approval first. When he got the approval, I was able to record.
Okay.
So
All right.
I've been since then.
Fantastic.
Seeing the former president of the United States walk in here and show how much he's invested, not just in what you guys are doing here, but also this community. What did that mean to you?
It just kind of showed me somebody cares, or it's like it's easier to reach. You know, it's not like you just speaking to the community, or you're not just showing your face to the community on camera. And so for him to come in, shake everybody's hand, listen to the raps, actually give feedback, it meant a lot.
Haters praying for my stress, hoping that I break a sweat. Elohim's my source, so I'm passing every single test.
When we went to that program and you saw this incredible talent in a church basement making music, and Nate, I think you felt it too. What was most powerful about it was seeing these young men really looking out for each other. Getting more of that in our communities is also going to make a difference. And that's what we're demonstrating through these model communities of My Brother's Keeper. It's a matter of want to on the part of the broader society.
You know, I'm a father of a 19-year-old, 17-year-old, a 12-year-old, and I am an optimistic man. But I find myself falling into this space where I have concern about the country that they will inherit once I'm gone. Post-presidency, what about this country keeps you up at night?
The thing that I'm most worried about is the degree to which we now have a divided conversation, in part because we have a divided media, right? So I'm much older than you, Nate.
You don't look it, though.
That's what I was fishing for. But when I was coming up, you had 3 TV stations.
Yeah.
And people were getting a similar sense of what is true and what isn't, what was real and what was not. Today, what I'm most concerned about is the fact that because of the splintering of the media, we almost occupy different realities. If something happens, in the past, everybody could say, all right, we may disagree on how to solve it, but at least we all agree that, yeah, that's an issue. Now, people will say, well, that didn't happen, or I don't believe that. And one of, I think, the goals of the Obama Foundation and one of the goals of my post-presidency is how do we return to that common conversation? How can we have a common set of facts? We may disagree on gun violence in terms of what the best prescriptions are, but we can't deny the data that says the United States has levels of gun violence that are 5, 10, 15 times more than other countries. So if we say that it's just a mental health problem, well, it's not like there aren't people with mental health problems in those other countries. What's the difference? This is probably the difference. Now, we can have a debate, but at least we've agreed on some facts.
Wow. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, specifically the part when he talked about media being fractured and how we now occupy different realities. So there's rarely common ground that we find as a country when it comes to issues that are ripping us apart. And working in media, it gave me a different perspective on what we do. And it also allows me to look in the mirror. How well are we doing the job of making sure that both sides of whatever spectrum can at least see truth and then start a conversation after that.
Well, that's the thing. I've never heard it put that way, a divided conversation. He didn't even use the phrase divided country.
Yeah. Right.
He used divided conversation. And I've never heard it put that way. And I think he's so on point about that. That's what's so scary, that we can't even agree on the facts anymore. And how do you get back to that? I still don't know. I also like what he said about guns, that we tolerate on a routine basis children getting killed. We tolerate that.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to me.
It's so important to remind ourselves that the goal here, my fond hope, and I know yours as well, is that this table here will be that common conversation in American life, and you can have conversations like that. He's also, he's quite an academic. He's a deep reader. He's historically correct in saying that the gun debate has become ideological.